What's up guys, this is Nick at Stridewise.com and I wasn't planning on reviewing this bag. I really just bought it so I could carry a dozen boots at once to my video shoots, but a lot of people have been asking about it and I'm really crazy about it, so I got another Filson review for you guys. The large rugged Twill duffel. For those unfamiliar with the brand, Filson was founded in 1897 and is for men who are digging for gold in the 19th century Alaskan wilderness, or men who would like to pretend that they could go digging for gold in the 19th century Alaskan wilderness at the drop of a hat. The Seattle-based company was indeed started to kit out prospectors heading to the Klondike Gold Rush. Back then it was called C.C. Filson's Pioneer Alaska Clothing and Blanket Manufacturers. Today they're known for heritage style, incredibly durable construction, a very generous lifetime warranty, and kind of absurd prices. Yeah, I encourage you to go check out my review of their $1,000 briefcase for a more thorough exploration of Filson's pricing, but put briefly, they cost too much, but they're fantastic. Like, you're never happy you paid that much for a Filson product, but you're always happy you own it. An exception to that actually is their Mackinac wool jacket, by the way, which I own, and I made a video about as well. You can check that out. I think that was actually very reasonably priced. Their $400 canvas backpack, not super reasonably priced. Which brings me to the large Filson duffel. A bag I'm really glad I have. It's a bag that I originally brought, like I said, to bring boots to video shoots, but I've since found myself using it anytime I have to travel anywhere because at 75 liters, it holds more than anything else I own. It's really heavy fabric, but it's lighter than a structured suitcase this size, you know what I mean? Like, I like carrying a heavy bag as well in one hand because it's good for your oblique muscles, your core and hip stability, that kind of stuff. And above all, I just think it looks really cool. All of Filson's stuff is very cool, but their bags, I would say, are their best known products because they're really well designed and they're tanks. They're made from really durable material. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about this material. So this is Twill from British Millerin, a famous mill outside of Manchester in England that's actually older than Filson themselves. British Millerin were founded in 1880. If you get a Filson bag, it's typically canvas or twill. Their canvas is usually, if not always, tin cloth, which is what you got here in the Journeyman backpack. It's their name for waxed canvas. The twill is usually, if not always, what they call rugged twill. I probably don't need to go too deep into canvas versus twill, but they're both kinds of really densely woven cotton. Canvas is smoother and plainer to look at. Twill, which we've got here, is woven into more complex textured structures. Both are extremely resistant to tear and abrasion, and even though it's, I suppose, what you call low-tech materials, it will last you the rest of your life and look cooler with each passing day. Filson also noticed that twill tends to be more pliable than canvas and describes their rugged twill as made from 2-ply and 3-ply yarns woven in a 2x2 twill pattern. In a 2x2 twill, the wefts, or the horizontal yarns, alternate crossing over and under to warp or vertical yarns. Each successive row of weft yarns is offset by the warp yarn, which creates a pronounced diagonal line in the weave. I had to call them to get some information on the twill because they don't disclose its weight on their website. Their tin cloth is 14 ounces per square yard, but it turns out their rugged twill gets different weights based on its application. For their famous twill briefcase, it's a smaller and lighter bag, and for a bag that size, you might want a lighter weight than this duffel here because you'd want it to have more flexibility. The duffel bag, however, is their beefiest, heaviest material. It varies a bit in weight just based on its nature, like the kind of material it is, but this bag is 20 to 22 ounces per square yard. So it's way beefier and burlier than their tin cloth. And what's interesting is that I always thought of the tin cloth as waxed and the rugged twill as unwaxed. However, there is indeed wax on the twill here. With something like Filson's tin cloth, the company rolls it in a solution to impregnate the fabric with wax and increase its water resistance. This method, or so the legend goes, first came about when sailors were waxing their sails to help them become more wind resistant and catch more wind, like move the boat faster. The twill is waxed in a different way. It's still paraffin wax, like on the tin cloth, but it's a more superficial application they call an aqueous wax finish. And it doesn't actually impart much water resistance to the product. To be clear, they don't need to impart a lot of water resistance to the product. They don't need to add a bunch of wax to it because it's already so thick and so dense that it's actually very water resistant on account of that, just on its own. The bit of wax they add to the rugged twill is to help with patina, is what they told me. I mean, patina, by the way, it's a desirable effect of aging. That's what patina is. Like, faded jeans are considered patina. People with beat up leather boots, that's called a patina, like a nice old beat up pair of boots. People like the way that looks because of the patina. And it turns out the slight permutation in color that you get in old Filson Twill is in large part because of the wax, which they applied to get a nice patina. If it was regular Twill, it wouldn't change color, but a bag like this will get lighter where the wax wears away. If you want a waxier Twill, you can buy some of Filson's oil finish wax, but it'll darken and stiffen the fabric, plus you'll rub wax off on yourself when it's banging against your leg, and it's already plenty water resistant on its own. That's not official advice, that's not recommended, but you can if you really want to add a bunch of wax to your Twill, but you just don't need to. The fabric really ages beautifully. Here are some shots of old Filson bags. Most of them are the tan color. I prefer this otter green color. And a lot of people sell their Filson bags once they look like this for a big profit. It's like a fine wine. This is one of the few products that gets more valuable the older it gets because people just love the look of old Filson bags and the knowledge that it is incredibly resistant to wear and tear and water and abrasions and anything else you can throw at it, combined with the fact that it'll last you the rest of your life, combined with the fact that it'll look cooler as you get older and Filson will replace it if it ever gets damaged, you start to see why a lot of people are actually pretty happy to pay Filson's prices. All right, let's talk details. What have they done with the Twill? There are no details. I mean, okay, we haven't talked yet about this leather. This is Bridle leather from Wickett and Craig. It's a really beloved American tannery based in Pennsylvania that only makes vegetable tan leather, which is a really old-fashioned way of making leather. It's the way all leather was made until the mid-19th century when we came up with chrome tanning. I've got a whole video on chrome versus vegetable tanning you can check out, but suffice it to say that it makes complete sense that Filson would use this old-fashioned yet ultra-durable material on their old-fashioned yet ultra-durable bag. The Twill gets patina and the leather gets patina. Filson is patina central. Otherwise, it's almost just a sack, man. There are no exterior pockets. You do have these like rings here on the side to attach the shoulder strap to if you use it. I usually don't myself. I just like clip these handles together here and just carry it in one hand because I mean, A, I usually have a backpack, so I can't use the shoulder strap at the same time as that. And B, I prefer to just carry the bag in one hand to train my grip a little. It's called a suitcase carry, it's an actual exercise, it's pretty good for you. The carry handles, meanwhile, the carry like straps here, they wrap entirely around the bag. So they provide really good carrying support. The storm flap is also really worth noting. You see here, it goes over the zipper to ensure that water doesn't go into the bag through the zippers, which would be the weakest point as far as, you know, waterproofness goes. So you just clip it over the zipper like that. You'll probably, it's possible if you know your Filson bags, you look at this storm flap and you immediately thought of the storm flap, which goes over the zipper on the Journeyman bag. So it really is, these bags are like, you know, half brothers. They're very similar. They're not very similar, but they have similar features in some respects. Same leather and everything. They've also got Twill on the back of the Filson Journeyman, but that's another bag for another review. Otherwise, the only feature here that I should really mention talking about is on the interior of the bag. There's like a sort of a pocket on either side of the interior, but they're more like big flaps. They don't close, and also the bag is a big floppy bag, so I never have any confidence that anything I put in those pockets will stay in there. However, I have balled up dirty socks and underwear in there a couple times to keep them separate, and it works well enough, but I don't consider them all that functional. This is just like a big tough sack with a storm flap. And it costs $425. That's the price. I already did my whole thing where I said that Filson is overpriced, but you're always glad that you own one of their products, and I just said it again, but that's all I really have to say on Filson's pricing. Yes, it is overpriced, but I absolutely love it, and I'm really glad I own it. All right, to wrap up, this bag is unbelievably tough and abrasion resistant. It's decently water resistant. The materials are really high quality. The bag will age really well. It's incredibly cool looking. It's made with all natural materials as well, and it's made in the USA, which is a big deal. I didn't emphasize that earlier, but that's a really big deal for most Filson customers. The company will fix or replace anything that happens to this bag for the rest of your life, and that's huge. And also, it is huge. The bag is huge. It's 75 liters. You can take this bag on a month-long trip very easily. I've done that myself. I just loop a padlock through the zippers here before checking on a plane, if that's what I'm doing, and it's good to go, and it's secure. I secure it that way. And another thing I was surprised by, actually, like, I didn't realize how much I'd like the fact that this is a massive bag, but because it's Twill, it flattens and rolls up really, really easily, so it doesn't take up much room at all in little New York City apartments. And as someone who happens to live in one, every time I move, there's always been like the headache of like, where do I put the giant suitcase I use to move apartments and that I used to go back to Australia once a year. And now I don't have that issue because this is a massive bag that holds more than any of my other bags, but takes up less room than any of my other bags as well. So it's easy to store, and that's big points for a Manhattanite. As for potential downsides, it's a fairly heavy bag. It's about 5 pounds in weight. A lot of people say this is the main drawback of a thick cotton bag. And that's mostly just worth remembering, because when you check a bag, you have to remember how much the bag itself weighs when you're like packing it at home, because that'll contribute to your luggage allowance. That's worth talking about. It really has no features at all. I would love it to have like one zippered pocket somewhere for a passport or wallet or something. It doesn't have anything like that. There's nowhere to put your laptop. It doesn't convert to a backpack, which is something that some people like in a big bag. It is very water resistant. It's not as water resistant or waterproof as like a dry bag, like a technically waterproof bag with really high tech nylon, something like that. So if that's a requirement for you, that's worth pointing out. I guess I wouldn't take it whitewater rafting, but I've taken it through a lot of snowstorms and left it on rain-soaked parking lots all over the place. I've dropped them in puddles and everything has been fine. It's very water resistant for what the average person is going to do with this bag. Lastly, some people say that packing clothes is a bit awkward with a bag like this. This is just like a feature of duffel bags in general, because you can't just plop things down in this bag. You know what I mean? You can't arrange things the way you would like with a suitcase, because there's really just this one zipper along the top and it doesn't extend down to the sides, and the opening can feel, it can feel a little bit narrow for some guys if you're packing like a stack of shirts, and it can be hard when you're looking for that like one item on the bottom underneath everything as well. Again, that's true of every duffel, but if you want a duffel, this one is very, very good. All right, that's my unexpected review of a bag I never planned to review, but I love it. Like, I won't pretend the main thing about this bag isn't that it's cool. Like, it's just very cool looking. It looks cool now, and it'll look cool in 100 years. And that's this timeless masculine design that will always get you compliments on it. The bonus is that it's insanely durable in addition to being insanely cool, and it's crazy roomy, and that's why I bought it. I wanted something big and cool, so I got it. Is it lacking technical features? Yes. Is it overpriced? Yes. Does it do everything I want it to do and look great while it's at it? Yeah, I love it, and I get excited to use it every time I travel.